Welcome to the Please Go Away Vacations pre-departure discussion for your upcoming trip. The special online travel log is being presented by the full-time travel professionals of Please Go Away Vacations. The trip that we're going to be going over is France at its best. Your travel dates are April the 28th through May the 12th. This is a tour that Please Go Away Vacations is sponsoring in partnership with Colette Vacations. Your hostess for this trip is going to be Cora Usuro. She is a full-time travel professional in our office. She's very excited to have the opportunity to go with you. One of her very favorite things is history, so she's excited about being able to share the experience with you along the way, but especially as you visit the Normandy D-Day beaches. You're going to start out by flying into Paris and spend a couple of nights there. You'll then do some touring up in that northern part of France and work your way down to the French Riviera around the area of Nice, Monaco, Monte Carlo, Avignon, and some of the areas there you're going to find are absolutely beautiful at this time that you're going with spring coming. So that's going to be a wonderful experience that you'll be having. In another probably about 10 days, we should be getting your documents. And once we get those, we will forward those on to everyone so that you can review and have a lot more details. I'm not going to go through every word that will be in those, but just kind of hit some of the highlights so that you kind of know what's coming down the road for you. The packet that you'll be getting is going to include a booklet very similar to this that is specifically for your trip. Inside of it, you're going to find, first of all, a list of the hotels where you'll be staying throughout the trip each night. In addition to the one that's printed in the booklet, you're also going to have a loose one that you can take out and even make extra copies of that you can leave with family or neighbors so that in an emergency they could reach you. And of course, it's always fine to provide the phone number and contact information here at Please Go Away Vacations because we'd be happy to assist should someone need to reach you and be having difficulty. In your packet, you're going to get actually three kinds of luggage tags. First of all, on the left, you see one that has a string tag, and all of these have a specific purpose. And the purpose of the one with the string tag is to put your hotels, because you will be moving from place to place throughout most of the tour. And on the other side, there's lines. And so you can put your name on here. It's not necessary that you necessarily put your address on there. You certainly can if you want to. A lot of people hesitate to put their address on either one of these tags, actually, in case for some reason someone would see it and that would be advertising that your home is empty. So sometimes a neighbor, perhaps a business, it's entirely up to you what you want to put on there. Now, the gray one that has the elastic string on it, you do not attach to your bag until you arrive in Paris at your first hotel. So you're there 2 nights. You would just want to put that on when you put it out to move on to your next stop on your trip. The luggage tag on the right is to identify your bag. Do put your name on it. And again, as I indicated, you can put your address or some other address that you choose to, entirely up to you as to what you prefer to do. Each of these tags is going to have a plastic attachment, and this shows you how it's going to attach. You're going to stick it through itself as a loop, and then you'll wrap the end through and then poke the tag back through the loop and pull it tight. And that identification tag is very secure, and you would want to put that on prior to checking it at the airport and departing on your trip. The third one that he mentioned is the bright green sticker that says, "Please go away vacations." This one is entirely as an identification. It's going to very easily identify your bag so that anytime you need to claim it, whether at the airport or customs or wherever, it will help everyone to identify. There's always lots of bags, and even when you think you have something that's different than everyone else's, you're going to find out that, amazingly enough, there's others just like yours. On the back of this, there are some cracks where you can peel off the back and then put it around the handle, as is shown in this picture, so that it does stay. We do send you extras, so you certainly can put one on your large checked bag. And then if you choose to, you can also put that on cameras, backpacks. Some ladies put them on their purse. Anything that if you left that laying on a table, in a bus, in a restaurant or a hotel waiting area, someone else in our group is going to see the bright green and know that it belongs to someone they're traveling with. Many a bag have been returned to their owners or kept from being lost because of the bright green stickers. Here's another picture that's showing you a bag and all of the different kinds of attachments. So the Colette tag is a little bit different now than it was for a while, and it could be different even when the ones come. But again, put the Colette hard one on when you leave home, the bright green one on when you leave home, and then the gray one you will retain and put on in Paris. Notice that this one also has a padlock on it. There's a little red dot on it that indicates it's a TSA approved, and those are perfectly fine to use. If you have anything other than one with the TSA logo on it, the airlines will drill that out and remove them. They are not allowed. One of the really important things that people are always concerned about is, well, how much luggage can I take and how much can it weigh? How big can it be? So how you're going to determine the size is the height, the length, and the width. So one time on each of those measurements cannot exceed 62 inches. If it exceeds 62 inches, the airline is going to charge you a fee as an overage cost. Otherwise, you currently do not pay to check a bag for an international flight. You are allowed to have one, and it cannot exceed that size, nor can it exceed 50 pounds. Exceeding either of those will result in fees that the airline will charge, and they can be quite substantial. Here's some various sizes of suitcase, and the biggest one is one that is 62 inches, which is a very large bag and should be sufficient for getting what you need in for your trip. You can take a carry-on, such as the middle one. That one is a 20-inch bag, and again, you measure the same dimensions to get that. That would be a carry-on item that would go in the overhead of the plane. You are not going to have access to that bag on a bus tour. The bus company will usually set that underneath for you throughout the day, but what they do is put it under there in the morning. They do not get it back out for you until evening. So you do want to be sure that if you're traveling with that size of a carry-on, that you do keep out everything that you need in the daytime. Medicine, sunscreen, anything of that nature. The far left bag is a smaller carry-on, and some of those nowadays even do have rollers, and they're small enough they would also fit under the seat in front of you on the plane or under the seat in front of you on the bus so that you could have access to that during the daytime if needed. Rollers are very, very useful. There are times nowadays since COVID that we are not able to get a SkyCap to assist the group with luggage. We are finding that even in Wichita that there no longer are SkyCaps out to assist. So if you can have bags that roll, it'll make your life much, much easier. And then, of course, when you return home and you go through customs and immigration, you do claim your bag briefly. and then roll it in as you go through and clear customs, and then give it back to the airline personnel to then meet you back in Wichita or your departing city. If you're traveling with the larger carry-on that we looked at previously, you may want to think about having a backpack or something similar that you can have with you during the daytime. Perhaps put your important papers, your passport, money, credit card, and things in the little zipper bag, tuck that way down inside the backpack. That gives you a place to carry water, hand sanitizer, anything else that you're going to need throughout the day. This can easily be stuck in the side pocket of your large suitcase and then just pulled out as needed. It is important to remember the 3-1-1 rule. Each airline passenger is allowed to bring a 1-quart sized bag that contains no more than 3 ounces of any liquids or gels into their carry-on bag. If the liquids, water bottles, or anything that do not fit in the bag are larger than 3 ounces, the airline will discard them as you go through security. And so be sure that you are aware of the sizes. A lot of times people lose toothpaste, shampoo, things of that nature. And do keep in mind, it's what is shown on the container as being the size and not what you think is left in that container. So be aware of those sizes. So let's just kind of look at some of the basic information. First of all, the temperatures can always be different, but what we would anticipate for this time of year when you're in France would be, depending on the areas, to be in the mid to upper 60s. Averages, of course, come because there's days that are less than that, as well as days that are higher, and of course, cooler of an evening. So you're certainly going to want to bring along jackets so that you can have those of an evening when you're out. Sometimes on the buses are a little cooler than some people are comfortable. Always a really good idea to dress in layers so that you can maintain a comfort level. Add to, take off in order to keep yourself to where you're comfortable and not cold or overly warm. Shoes are very important. You do a substantial amount of walking a lot of times on tours. So if you're going to buy new shoes for your trip, we suggest you get them and wear them several times to get them broke in before you get on the trip. Be prepared for different types of weather, for warmer weather, rainy weather, cool weather, a light raincoat, umbrella, waterproof shoes, things of that nature, so that, again, you can have those should weather change or you need something different. Sandals and flip-flops and things of that nature are not really good plans for when you are touring and doing a lot of walking, especially on uneven ground. One of the most important things on here is going to be your passport, so be sure you lay those out and have that ready to go so that you don't forget that. Passports are very, very important. You're going to be in France, and the difference in time, I believe, is going to be 7 hours from our time. So kind of keep that in mind too. When people travel and you're traveling overnight, you have to kind of adjust your medication so that you get on track for the time it'll be and back to where you'll be once you arrive and can get situated. Money, you don't want to have all of your finances in one form, because if something were to happen, your credit card is lost or stolen or something, you need to be sure that you have some backup. Credit cards work well for much of the time when you're traveling. To make purchases, it's converted for you. Some cards do have a fee, so you need to be aware whether yours does or doesn't, but the convenience is good. When you are in Europe, the Visa credit cards are the most widely accepted. MasterCard is accepted second, And then a distant third would be American Express. And I wouldn't bother taking a Discover because you do not find very many places that are going to accept a Discover card. There may be some times that you have lunches in some smaller places that will not take a credit card, or sometimes you'll find that there's a minimum, which is such that you're paying a minimum and not even, purchasing it close to what they're going to make you pay. So you're going to want to have some euros, which is the currency for France. So you can do that a couple of ways. I normally, which most of us here in the office do, is what we plan to do is when you change planes in Dallas before flying over the water, we have in the past always exchanged money there at one of the foreign currency booths once you move to the international departure area. Now, I will say, having just returned from Greece, I planned to do that and found that in Minneapolis, due to COVID and shortage of help, we could not find a currency exchange booth open. You will find, if you wait and don't do that, that you will find some ATMs in the airport when you arrive, a lot of hotels. Oftentimes there's some banks or places that are nearby your hotels. Your tour manager, once you arrive, is a good source of providing information to assist you in getting some euros so that you have some for your trip. Another thing to think about is, those of you that are in larger areas than us here in central Kansas and Great Bend, some banks will order those in for you. And we don't have that luxury here, but you might check with your bank and see if that's something that they would assist you with. Gratuities is another subject that often a lot of people are concerned about. You're going to have, I believe, 5 local guides during your trip that will be with you in some specific locations that know the region and have a better understanding of the people and the culture. And they share sometimes a half a day, sometimes all day. Your tour manager will visit with you and tell you ahead of time which cities you're going to have these guides and for the length of time, make some recommendations as to the gratuities that you should consider giving. And again, that's a personal nature if you're happy, versus if you don't think they do a good job. But kind of a rule of thumb for a step-on guide is $2 to $3 per day per person in US dollars or the equivalent in euros. And again, that's based on their service and entirely up to you to make that decision. There's also end of tour customary gratuities for your tour manager. That recommendation is from 5 to 8 US dollars per day or equivalent per person in euros. And the driver that you'll have throughout the tour, the recommendation there is from $3 to $5 per person per day, US or equivalent in euros. If you're going to use a credit card for purchases, it is suggested that you use one with a chip as opposed to one with a magnetic strip because those are more widely accepted. And do be sure that you contact your credit card ahead of time and tell them that you're going to be traveling internationally. Many of them, if you don't do that, will refuse the charges. So you want to be sure that you do take care of that ahead of time. If you're taking some cash and planning to exchange the cash either at the airport or hotel or somewhere, I would suggest that you not have bills larger than a 20. Many places in Europe do not accept $50 or $100 bills. And it's always good that your bills are in a fairly new condition as opposed to being something that they're worn and tattered, because oftentimes they will not accept those for some reason. And so anyway, do try to get newer bills. As an idea of what cash to take or how to kind of plan your finances, for meals that are not included in your itinerary, the tour manager is going to recommend some places to eat, local businesses that are kind of close. Another suggestion is, if you have not, is to download the Colette Compass app onto your smartphones, and then you can access your tour. Your flights will be on there. Lots of information is about the hotel, the address, the phone number. So if you wander off and you get too far from the hotel and you're a little lost, you can get directions. You can find a lot of different things that are nearby if you need some things to do in the free time. If you're looking, I think your breakfasts are always included. There are going to be some lunches that are not, and you can kind of plan, depending on what you eat, anywhere from 20 to 30 US dollars for a lunch that's not included. For a dinner that's not included, kind of a $30 to $45 would be an idea just to kind of help you plan. And again, it's going to depend on what you're getting. You're going to find when you do have meals that you're purchasing that the gratuities are included in the bill. And then if you wish to give some additional tip to the waitress, it's just kind of customary to round that up to the nearest whole figure and give that directly to the server. In France, you would not leave a gratuity on the table. That's not the acceptable thing to do. You would hand that directly to your waiter or waitress. You're going to find that in France, people generally eat a little bit later. That's customary there. The water is safe to drink. However, many restaurants will often serve it in a bottled water. And it's always a good idea to be sure when you're traveling to stay hydrated and to drink plenty of water. If you have any allergies or dietary needs, be sure that you do mention that to your tour manager at the beginning so that they can plan accordingly. The lower right, you see an adapter and converter. And of course, the electricity in France is 220. And some appliances, whether using curling irons or phones or camera batteries, read on them because many of them you will find nowadays will say 110/220. So if they're dual, and meaning 110 or 220, in order to plug them in, you're going to need an adapter because the plugs are different where you insert that into your wall outlet. If it is not a dual, you will then need to first convert it from 220 to 110 and then use an adapter to plug it into the wall. If you have a sleep apnea machine or anything like that, be sure that you bring an extension cord. Oftentimes you'll find in hotels that wherever the plugs are not really conducive to reaching something that's it's a little bit too far away for the cords. And of course, be sure that you know whether or not you need to convert the voltage or whether you just need to adapt it, and be sure and plan accordingly for that. The tour documents are also going to include a name badge that Colette will appreciate if you'll wear. It's going to help you get acquainted with the other tour members, help the tour manager learn your name. When you're traveling on the bus, they pretty much normally will practice seat rotation so that you sit by different people and experience the front, the back, and everything as you're traveling and not have the same people always in the same location. Sometimes during COVID, that has changed just a little bit, so your tour manager will tell you what he or she expects. So I think we've covered everything there. The tour does include luggage handling for one large bag, so you certainly don't want to go like the guy on the right that has all that baggage. The airline's going to charge him a fortune, the tour company's going to charge you more, and it's not much fun to have to handle all that yourself. This tour is casual, and I am not aware of anything that you're going to really need to have any dress up clothes. Oftentimes, the farewell dinner, people, I don't want to say dress up, but they dress maybe country club casual. Um, so maybe more than jeans. Probably you wouldn't want to go in shorts. But throughout the touring in the days, if it's warm, capris, if you're a shorts wearer, that's certainly acceptable. Um, and if there's any restrictions, once we do actually get the actual documents and contact with your tour manager, we'll be sure and advise you of all that. And of course, if you have any questions whatsoever, please let us know. So we're going to go through, I know there was some concern about some of the protocols that are in place. I think that you're all well aware that it is required that you be fully vaccinated for COVID. Depending on when your last COVID shot was, then you may also be required to have the booster. And that information was sent to you in a memo recently. So if you have any questions about that, do let us know. And so we're also going to go through, and excuse me while I just make a little change here. We're going to go through and actually fill out some of the forms, or both of the forms that are required. There was some questions about that, and so I'm going to do Cora's, and I'm starting with the memo that you received that had the information about the passenger locator form and the electronic declaration form. And it is recommended that you use Chrome or other server as opposed to doing Edge. They don't seem to work well with Edge. So we'll start with the first one here. And we're going to select France. And you do need to read through and make sure that everything it tells you you're aware of and agree with. And then, so we have selected France, and we're going to start here. And our final destination is France, so we're going to select that, and we're going to continue. You're going to be flying in, so we're going to select the aircraft. And then we have to attest that I will fill out and submit the form completely correctly and truthfully. So I have visited with Cora, and she has agreed to that, and we have read through it and are in agreement with everything that is asking for. And we're aware of the privacy notice, so we're going to agree to that, and we're going to continue. All that France is concerned about is the flight that is actually arriving into France. And so the flight is not going to be changing planes anywhere else between Dallas and France. And so for intents and purposes on this, we're going to select a direct flight because we're going directly from the United States to our destination. And so you are on American Airlines, and the flight number, at least currently, is American. So we're going to do AA, flight 48. They are requiring that we provide a seat number. And so I was able to get these for us this afternoon. And so we'll be happy to do one of two things. We'll be happy to share those with you, or if you would like, we will be happy to set up a individual with each household, a one-on-one meeting such as this, and actually go through with you looking and um, assisting us, and we'll help you fill everything out so that that gets done. Cora has not been in any other country in the last 14 days. Her boarding country is going to be United States of America. And well, it went to the wrong place. Let me do this again here. So United States of America, date and departure. So you are leaving on the 28th of April. And then here we are going to need to change the time to be our time zone. So what we're going to do here is we have to go down, and the one that is in the same time zone as us is Chicago. And so we're going to choose Chicago, and then you're going to leave Dallas at 9:05. And so we're going to select that. Boarding airport, and you're going to be leaving from Dallas. Let's see, we have to first tell it other. I don't know why it's only got two, and then we're doing other. And then the time of arrival, you arrive on the 29th. And this is military time, so you need to be sure and keep that in mind. So 1 in the afternoon is going to be 13. And I believe Cora told me that the flight is 1:15. And some of these you just, if it's not exact, just go to the closest. And we're going to say okay. And the final destination is Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. That's down here quite a ways. They're kind of alphabetical. And select that. And then we're going to continue. And your last name, first name, your gender, your date of birth, and we'll select Cora's here. And then the phone number. And because we're looking at country codes and everything, the first thing you're going to do is do a plus sign, and then a 1 for the U.S., and then your phone number. And you want to use the cell phone that you will be traveling with. Another one is optional. It picks up your email for when you at the very beginning, you have to set up a login and use the email that you will have access to on your cell phone. And then we're going to continue. The country is United States of America. And state, I think you're all in Kansas. And then select your city. And well, street. And then the number. Will you be staying during the next 14 days in a temporary address other than your permanent address? And yes, because you're going to be in a hotel. And address type, we're going to select hotel. You're going to be in France. And we don't need a state. We're going to tell it that you're going to be in Paris. And the street. And again, this is information. If you do not have it, we can assist you. And this information is also in the app that I mentioned. that we can also help you to get. Um, we're only going to put the first one, so I'm not going to add another temporary, and then we're going to continue and provide a contact name. And again, we have to do a plus and a 1. And we're not adding anything else for Cora, but you certainly feel free to put in the options if you want to. And then we're going to submit it. And Cora should be getting a confirmation that we have taken care of this. That will be printed, and so she will have a hard copy as well as a printed copy. Just to backtrack a tiny bit, at the very beginning, when you create your login, it will immediately send you an email to your cell phone that you will need to accept and confirm that it's you before you're actually able then to click to actually log back in. So we have completed the first of the 2 requirements. And so I'm going to close this one. And then now we're going to do the electronic declaration. And we want it in English. Departure country is United States. Whoops. And be careful because it does defaults to Greece or to France. So we need to change that to us. And then we're going to do last name, first name, date of birth, country of birth, and again, we're going to need to change that to the United States or wherever you were born, and zip code of birth and birthplace, and gender. Are you a healthcare professional? Choose what's appropriate. We did take the phone number of the hotel, and we'll put that here. Well, we have to do France here, so let me get that. And then the phone number that we took off of the Colette app. And individual accommodation is the most fitting. There's other choices there. And then we're going to do the address again. And Paris. And then have you been vaccinated? Obviously you need to be, and so we have that. You will need to put your social security number on here. And that is required. And asymptomatic means that you have no symptoms. And we will generate all of the information that we have done. And if you need to change anything when you read back through, you can modify it. I'm going to validate Cora's. And So then we get a copy of it here and we will print that out, and she has her QR code and she's good to go. So do try this if you want to. You'll need to contact us and we'll provide the information that you do not have. And again, if you want to call us or email us and arrange a time that's good for you, we would be more than happy to one-on-one go through and do this with you. So again, if you have any questions, please give us a call, 1-800-362-9347, or you can always email us either answers@travelpleasegoaway.com or paula@travelpleasegoaway.com or Cora@travelpleasegoaway.com. So thank you all, and we're looking forward to you and having a wonderful trip.